Awesome. All right. Well, hello, everybody, and thanks so much for being here for the July Tiny Talks. If you have never been here before, welcome, welcome. I think this is our third month of Tiny Talks. And to give you kind of an idea about the idea and the format, um, I have observed in my weekly co-working that I do with other folks with tiny businesses and nonprofits that, especially for those of us who are solopreneurs, we can get really huge, really impactful ideas in like the tiniest amount of time. And the number of times that I've seen in our virtual co-working group, somebody have this massive, like business changing, like, whoa, I never thought to do a leads list that way, or oh, I never thought about automation this way, or something in just 5 to 10 minutes is really, really incredible. And so that is where the idea for Tiny Talks came from. And each month I invite a guest speaker, and there are two topics, and they're both a little bit different. So I like to do one that's sort of like a technical skill or a hard skill for someone in business. So something like legal basics, for example, is the topic today. So legal basics, SEO, things like that, that are really that more kind of technical nitty gritty stuff you need to know. And then the other one is a little bit more of like a soft skill or a life skill or a holistic skill for people in tiny businesses and nonprofits. So sometimes that is things like ADHD tips, or tips for ADHD entrepreneurs, or different things like that. That's been most of them so far because that tends to be who's in these groups. So which I am not complaining about. And I'm actually really excited to have Liz today because I'm typically the like technical speaker as a web designer, but today I get to be the soft skill speaker, and I'm pretty excited about that. All right, so without further ado, we will go ahead and hop into my tiny talk. I'm going to set my visual timer, which I really love. If you have one, I always love the ADHD people that are like, me too, but mine's orange. Yeah, there we go. So if you want, kind of start looking around right now. I'm going to invite you to grab a piece of paper and a pen, and then something colorful. So like colored pencils or a marker or crayons or just another color pen, something, whatever you've got handy, whatever you've got nearby. All right, and can you see my screen okay? This thing that says find your flow. Excellent. Alrighty, so today's topic is find your flow, the most skipped step in time blocking. So I am Lark Frazier. It's really nice to meet you. I am a web designer, a tech stuff educator, and a lot more. As a person with ADHD, I am a multi-passionate person. My brain goes in a million different directions, and I am really excited to talk a little bit today about a really fun way that I have learned to contain a little bit of the chaos. Okay, so the first thing I want to know is what am I missing on this list? Okay, so these were just off the top of my head and in my like planner graveyard over there. So I've got planners, day theming, time boxing, AI calendar tools, cute worksheets, silk and sonder, bullet journaling, time blocking, monotasking, panda journals. I did like the panda journal. Eisenhower matrix, Pomodoro timer, massive action, virtual co-working, in-person co-working, eat that frog. Are there any other productivity tools that you can think of that I've missed from my list? Because if there is, I probably want to check it out.
The
Anybody? Anybody? What you got, Phil?
All right. So I'm an agile coach, right? And agile is like the corporate version of all this stuff
Yep.
and trying to do it. And so it's literally like a dark mirror of this for corporate nonsense.
This is the like pink post-it note pretty version of being
Mhm.
an agile coach. Absolutely.
Bullet journaling is my favorite that I do.
Yeah. Excellent.
Um,
Feel like you're missing Scrum is the other
Yeah,
one.
of course. Agile, Scrum. Oh, and then just like a project management software. Like I use Asana. There's a million of them out there.
oh yeah,
Monday.
Jira.
I like Rory says roll dice to decide task. Yep.
Ooh.
Perfect. So yeah, so this is, I think for most of us, especially if you're a solopreneur, I think we all have a little bit of a graveyard somewhere that we either try not to think about or occasionally like pull something out and we're like, oh yeah, this thing. This is my absolute favorite clip from Bob's Burgers, and it just perfectly encapsulates this for me.
Honey, why don't you take that off, huh?
Take what off? That is me now!
Heard that before.
That is me now! That is me now! That is me now!
And the number of times that I make that joke on a weekly basis is a lot. And that's kind of how it feels every time that I try a new productivity tool. And I don't really think that it's the tool's fault, right? Like, I think that any one of these tools would be incredible. The reason that every tool fails is because every tool that I have found is missing the step that I like to call the compassionate observation phase. So any tool where you are just trying to shove yourself into a little nicely, squared away bullet journal box is going to fail if you don't already know who you are, right? So that's my favorite part about Gene Belcher. Like, this is me now. This is me now. Is he's 8, right? He doesn't know who he is. And so he's going through this huge, like, this big exploration phase. So I really love this idea of finding and getting to know your compassionate observer and starting with your compassionate observation phase. And I know that sounds really like Zen and like a little bit, out there or whatever, but it's really not. And a couple of years ago, I found my favorite way to make this really fun, which is creating coloring sheets for myself every single day. Um, so the whole point of this is that I want you to start super, super simple. Don't buy anything. Don't go buy a single thing. Don't use a fancy tool. Don't buy a new notebook. I promise you don't need it. This is just a time for you to play around and engage with your observer. So the first thing that I want you to do is kind of like pick a shape in your mind, something that's kind of like flowy and helps you think about building a day or building a week. Okay, and I'm going to tell you a few rules, but the first rule is don't apply anyone else's rules to yourself. So I will give you some suggestions. Oh, my photos didn't make it in here. Okay. Let me show you my example here. Actually, so to give you an idea of where we're going, so this is a picture of my last Tuesday, August 6th. So this was last year. And so it's kind of like a to-do list, right? It's kind of like a task list. But I will tell you the thing, and it's that this gets built over the course of the day. So this is not something that is prescriptive, that you are telling yourself at the beginning of the day, okay, I have to knock out all of these things, right? I am going to notice every single day what feels like a task today, what feels hard, what feels like it required effort, right? So every single day I start down here with start, because for me as a person with ADHD, sometimes starting is the absolute hardest part. And in a regular day, sometimes start is like a quarter of the page, and that is okay. And there's nothing wrong with that. So the compassionate observation phase is that this coloring sheet gets to look however it actually looks. It's not about it being right. It's not about things should take this much effort. It is, hey, you know what? Some days start is a quarter of the page. Some days start is like the tiniest thing on the list, and that's great. I think I'm noticing it's really funny that I have one of my little mountains here is called menopause. um, so last year at this time, I was working on a project for like a menopause initiative, and I was helping with their website. But you know what? If menopause is a task list on your to-do list every day, it is, and that's okay. It is about compassionate observation. It's also not about being totally on track, right? So like I have my dog's vet appointment in here, right? I have this enter Holler and Crow emails. Holler and Crow is my band, but that was something that I could not get out of my head that day. And so I decided, you know what? I couldn't get out of my head. I did it anyway, even though I was technically off task. So I'm going to put that on my to-do list. I'm going to put that on this compassionate observation, on this draw myself a coloring sheet, because it's about seeing how my days and how my weeks actually go. And so I do this every single day when I'm in this compassionate observation phase. So Monday through Friday, I do this. And ideally, you do it a couple weeks in a row, because the point is that over time, I want you to be able to start looking back at these lists and seeing where your actual effort is going, right? Seeing that, oh man, every Monday, start is my biggest square. Maybe I should stop scheduling client meetings for Monday at 10 a.m. when I'm struggling to get started. right? So sometimes I track times. I say, oh, you know what? The gym, I went at 12:40 on this day. I know that's really specific. I went at 12:40 on this day. And so then I start to see, oh, actually, every Tuesday, I sort of want to go to the gym. So I'm going to start thinking about Tuesdays become my gym days. So it's really about building your schedule for you, from you, and then optimizing and sort of making small adjustments to help yourself be productive rather than forcing yourself into a productivity system, but build a system around yourself. Okay, so let's do it. Grab your piece of paper. So my favorite part about this system, honestly, is that you can skip a day. You can skip, I tell you, you should try to do it every day, but ultimately you can skip a day and you can do it the next morning, right? If you wake up the next morning and realize, oops, I forgot Monday, no big deal. Just create your Monday schedule from what you remember you've done the day before. It's really no big deal. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. Go ahead and start. So mine, I live in the mountains in North Carolina, and so I really like mine to look like these little like mountains or waves, or I don't know. Over time, they sort of started to look like muscle cells to me, which is a little weird, but whatever shape you want. They can be little stars. You can change it every day. But go ahead and grab your pen, grab your piece of paper, and I want you to just think through the day that you've had so far today, right? And go ahead and create a little space. And so for me, my start tile is like, it was like, I know it's a Monday today, but it was like medium small. It was a medium small start today. All right. And then I actually having a good nutritious breakfast this morning, that was a struggle. So I know it has nothing to do with my job, but I'm gonna go ahead and put breakfast on there because I had really had to effort to like eat some breakfast today. Okay, breakfast. And then I checked my emails. That is not even really a super productive task, but it is a thing that I did. It is a way that I spent my energy. It is a way I spent my mental effort and my time. And so just go ahead and like think through those couple things that you've done so far today and put them on there. And then if you have anything that you're like, I absolutely have to do this today, like I have to, it's so like for me, right? Right now, Tiny Talks. I absolutely have to do this. And then afterwards, I absolutely have to send you the cool thing that I'm going to send you afterwards. So I'm going to put that on there. And then over the course of the day, as you do your tasks, as you complete those things, that's where you're going to take that second color, right? And you're going to go in and you're going to fill it in. And you can get wild and creative, and you can have marketing tasks be green and communication tasks be orange or whatever. Or you can just have it be chaos. It's totally fine. So just kind of filling in a little bit about your day. And then one of the things that I have grown to really appreciate about this is that it also helps me see where the white space is, right? So there is almost never a day that I do this where the things that I think that I want to complete, or the things that I tell myself, oh, I have to do this today, or like I aspire to do this today. There's always a few spaces that don't get filled in by the end of the day. And that is okay because you can learn as much about what you didn't get to in a day as you can from learning about what you did get to in a day. All right. I am going to give you 30 more seconds. We are going to keep these talks tiny. Alrighty, so I've got mine here. This is mine for today. Got a couple slots. I really can't unsee them as like little blobby cells in the way that I do mine. So my final like cool tips about how to do this compassionate observation coloring sheet for yourself. Yeah, do it, try it for at least a week, right? Today's Monday. If you can take it, it truly is like the simplest thing that I know of to be able to track a to-do list because it can just takes up so little room. So try it for a week, right? If you can do 2 weeks, even better. If you miss a day, don't even worry about it. I promise you can't mess it up. You're just looking. And then really that most important part at the end is putting it into action, right? And not judging yourself for realizing I never send emails on Monday. I never want to come back from the weekend and look at emails. Like that's fine, right? It's how do you put that learning into action? How do you set up, maybe seriously, maybe you decide you set up an auto reply on Mondays and you just tell people who email you on Mondays, "Hey, I'm going to look at this tomorrow." Sorry. If it's an absolute emergency, email me again. But like, how do you actually put that learning into action, right? And then the last thing is enjoy, right? This is my little bowl of ice cream. It's a cool tip. You should enjoy it. It's fun. Create a coloring sheet just customized for you. Delightful. Break out your best stickers. Do whatever you got to do. All right, that is my tiny talk about the compassionate observation coloring sheet. I hope that you enjoyed it. I really would love to see your coloring sheets today or during our Q&A after this. And yeah, nice. So I'll go ahead and, oh, nice. Gardening. Yeah. Ooh, I like that there's little like flowers on there. Excellent. Ah, great. Well, before I turn it over to Liz, I just want to tell you if you are into this type of tiny action, this type of micro learning, I recently launched something called the Awesome Websites Membership, and it is packed with these little tiny lessons. They're about 5 to 10 minutes long. They work for you if you are a listener. They work for you if you are a reader, if you are a video watcher, or if you are a just jump in and do the thing and find out as you go what you're doing right and wrong. And it's all oriented around people who self-manage their own websites, their own marketing, trying to figure out how to be a productive entrepreneur who maybe has some neurodivergence like myself, and all of that and more. It's a super fun time, and it's there's really like I've tried to create it so that there's an accessible tier for everyone, no matter what your budget is, no matter how much support you need. So I got a little $10 off your first month code, and the code is Tiny Talks. And I will make sure that I send this to you right after this as well. But I'd love to see y'all in there. I'd love to, yeah, would love to get to know y'all a little bit better. So thanks so much. Good luck with the compassionate observing. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to Liz. Liz, thank you so much for being here. Liz, attorney and blogger. I love the dual titles. It's really great.
Thank you. I'm super excited. I am going to share my screen.
Perfect.
Hopefully this will come through. And that was fun. I have not seen to-do lists that way, and I quite enjoyed it. All right, can everyone see my screen okay? Perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here, you guys. I know the legal stuff is not usually super fun, but I actually pride myself on making it super approachable and not super stressful. So today I'm really excited to share why literally every business needs some legal policies. And I'm going to do that without the overwhelm, without the scare tactics. So if we haven't met before, hi, I'm Liz Stapleton. I became an attorney in 2012. I started my first blog in 2014, and eventually passions collided, especially when I saw a lot of like scaremongering and misinformation around the legal side of things. So I've been teaching on the legal side of online business for, oh my gosh, like 7-8 years now. Because especially back when GDPR came out in 2018, there was just a lot of miscommunication. People were taking action off of wrong information, which is like worse than not doing anything, right? So that's kind of what inspired me to really start teaching on it and create templates and resources that simplify the process and actually support creators in protecting what they're building, right? Because you're here, you're building something, you're doing awesome stuff, you're helping people. You don't want it to get, bite in the butt because you didn't cover yourself. So, today we're just going to quickly talk about what legally protecting your online business really means, why you need a privacy policy and what they are, the importance of disclosures and disclaimers, and how terms and conditions protect your business. So quick disclaimer. We're going to start out with a disclaimer before we talk about disclaimers. Well, I'm a lawyer. I'm not your lawyer. This is not legal advice. This is for informational and educational purposes only. Chances are I'm not even licensed where you live. And I'm not looking to get clients. I don't want to practice. I don't want to go to court. I want to help educate and help people take action. So you may need to talk to a lawyer in your jurisdiction if you have specific questions. But first, I want you to shift your perspective on legal. So 90% of the various rules and regulations out there were created because people were doing shady things. And I know that's not you guys. So I find that it tends to help when you realize that the legal stuff is really just a way for you to be transparent with your audience and customers plus it protects your business interests. So kind of coming at it from that angle, I feel like makes it a lot more approachable. So here's the thing. Legal protection isn't about having a team of lawyers. It's about knowing what's required, doing the basics well, and setting your business up to grow securely. So it's not just for big businesses. You can start simple, smart, and stress-free. So most creators think privacy policies maybe don't apply for them, or just the free one on WordPress is good enough, and it's a great starting point. At least have that, please. But if you've got a contact form, an email opt-in, web analytics, you're collecting data, you have a contact form, you have, allow comments on your site, you are collecting data, and that means there's legal obligations. Again, it doesn't have to be scary, but it does need to be handled. A privacy policy, all it is you're answering these questions, okay? And mine includes like fill in the blank prompts, but basically privacy policy, you need to tell people what information you're collecting, why you're collecting it, how it's used in stores, and any rights they may have. So I think another 2 states just had data privacy laws go into effect this month. So before it was like GDPR and in general, a bunch of laws meant you needed a privacy policy, but more and more states are specifically passing data privacy laws. I think we're up to like 18 states now here in the US. So maybe it's 16. It's around that number, but we're going to continue to see more and more as technology advances. So you need a privacy policy, but it's really just being transparent about what you're doing with the data you collect. Here are some examples, email signups. Everyone should have an email list, great asset for your business, but you may also be tracking things with Google Analytics or embedding like a YouTube video that has third-party cookies, and you need to disclose that in your privacy policy. So think about every way your site interacts with users, and if they count as data collection. If they do, they trigger the need for a privacy policy. Okay, GDPR is just the beginning. It was a wake-up call, but like I said, California, Virginia, Colorado, others have since created their own laws, and if your site has traffic from these places, compliance matters. So really what it aims to do is it gives consumers, if you step back and think of yourself as a consumer, as a business owner, gives you control over your data. I don't know if you guys remember years ago where it was like, Target had a data breach 2 years ago and just told people, right? Like, I don't know if you guys remember all those headlines happening where it was like, there was a data breach 5 years ago and we're just now telling you. It was real shady. And so these laws started popping up to be like, no, you need to tell people like right away if their data has been compromised, right? So just making sure that your site honors people's rights with their data, you have proper disclosures, cookie notices, and policies. Okay. Next up, disclosures. They build trust. It's not just about compliance. Disclosures aren't just legal boxes to check. They show your audience that you are honest about your relationships, whether it's affiliate links, sponsorships, or other forms of paid content. Okay, affiliate disclosure is probably the most well known. I don't know how many of you are doing affiliate marketing, but whether it's a paid Instagram post or a review of a gifted product, you need to disclose that relationship clearly and upfront. That includes email, video, and social media. I'd say failing to properly disclose affiliate relationships in email is probably one of the biggest mistakes I see people make. All right, so disclosures are about transparency. Disclaimers are about protecting you. They're like your legal armor. They help limit liability if someone misuses your information or has unrealistic expectations based on your content. You saw an example of a legal disclaimer at the beginning. Here's a few others. So financial, like you can't guarantee someone's going to make $10,000 if they buy your product, right? So having that kind of information. Professional, so I did a legal one, but maybe you're in the health space or the finance space. If you aren't licensed, you need to say so. If you are licensed, you need to say so and say, hey, but it's not personal unless like you hire me, So you need disclaimers if you talk about health, money, legal topics, anything where results might vary. These protect you from someone being like, but you promised I'd make all this money, right? Results vary. You can't guarantee things like that. Testimonial disclaimers are another one. The FTC requires that endorsements reflect the typical experience. If a testimonial highlights an unusual or exceptional result, you need to disclose what the generally expected outcome is. Avoid vague phrases. Be specific about what most people can realistically expect. Okay, so testimonials are great for selling your products and showcasing the success people have with what you've created, or case studies if you do client work, but you may need a disclaimer. All right. So places you might use them, sales pages, legal pages, and blog posts are some examples. If you're getting any kind of advice, promoting results, or talking about income, I know like income reports used to be a big thing. They're not as common now, but it's still a thing. Use a disclaimer. It's one of the simplest, most protective tools in your legal toolkit. All right. Next up. Your website, your rules, but you have to say so. So this is what terms and conditions are. They're your site's rule book. They let you set boundaries, protect your content, and manage user expectations, but only if they're actually written out. No one can follow rules they've never seen. Same thing as, it's really the same reason why you need a contract if you're doing any kind of one-on-one client work. All right, terms and conditions cover the legal relationship between you and your users. They clarify what people can and can't do on your site, how disputes will be handled, and what your policies are. So do you sell PLR, in which case they can take what they bought from you, turn around and sell it themselves? If not, then you need to say, hey, this is for your personal use only. Don't be trying to pretend you made it, right? You need to spell those out in your terms and conditions. And very importantly, they need to agree to them before they can actually purchase something. All right. So your terms don't have to be fancy, but they do need to be thorough. Cover what happens with refunds, what kind of behavior you allow, and make it clear that your content is protected, right? What happens if there's a dispute? Where do they have to bring it? You don't want to have to travel across the country to deal with this. They need to bring it to you. You know, prohibited uses, don't scrape it, don't copy the content. This is my intellectual property. These are the types of things you want to make sure you're clear on. By having these and having set refund and return policies, you can fight chargebacks and win, you know? Chargebacks are just unfortunately part of doing business. They're no fun. None of us like it. But you can submit evidence, including your terms and conditions and the fact that they were required to agree to them when they bought, and you can win those chargebacks. Okay? So, while terms and conditions may not be legally required for every site, they're incredibly useful. If you sell products or services, it's especially important to require agreement to your terms at checkout. This makes your policies enforceable, including your refund terms. Like I said, and helps you respond to any disputes or chargebacks with clear proof of what the customer agreed to. So they matter because they protect your content and your rights, they set clear expectations, they support your refund policies, and they strengthen your defense in chargeback situations. So one final thing, because promise to keep this short, right? If you already have a privacy policy or other legal policies, great. Are they up to date? Okay. Maybe you grabbed a free privacy policy years ago, or you copied from someone else's site, which is a no-no, but we're gonna not touch that right now. It's understandable, but a lot of privacy laws and data privacy laws have changed, and so you need to make sure your privacy policy is up to date. Maybe you've changed what tools you use. You know, maybe you used to use ConvertKit, but now you're on MailerLite, but your privacy policy still reflects ConvertKit, or, you know, vice versa. You need to make sure it's up to date, okay? If you're not confident that the old policy reflects how you collect data now and the platforms you use, the tools you're running behind the business, then it's not going to work as well, okay? It's not going to protect you. It's not going to be compliant. If you're not regularly reviewing and updating those documents, I usually say about at least once every 6 months, just if you tend to switch tools a lot, perhaps more often, or if you're not sure what they cover, then you're likely not fully protected, and that's, you know, where you need to take some action. So even if you're just starting out, okay, you don't need to be making 6 figures to justify legal protection. The earlier you put in these safeguards, the less stress and risk you will deal with later. So it's almost the best time. So that's really all I have for you guys. If you want more resources, I've got like free legal policy checklist. I've got an ebook. I've got all sorts of things. I think I've got affiliate disclosure swipe copy. You can go to elizabethstapleton.com/tinytalk, or there's the QR code on the screen. If you need legal templates, I have my website legal templates bundle is my most comprehensive bundle, and you can get $100 off. Just use the code tinytalk072025 or use the QR code. So hopefully you guys are all understanding why you need these policies, but aren't feeling too overwhelmed or worried about it. That was my goal.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Liz.
Absolutely.
Liz, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Alrighty. Well, I'll go ahead and end the recording, and then you're welcome to come off of your to like turn your video on and just kind of hang out, and we could just have like a casual hang and meet some other folks on the call. But for now, I'll just say thank you so much for being here, and I look forward to hopefully seeing some of you next month for our next Tiny Talk. Always a delight. Liz, thank you so much for being here. I feel like I learned a lot from your talk too. So
Thank you for having me. Yeah,
yeah,
no, this is
absolutely.
great.
Awesome. All right. Thanks y'all so much.